Hey guys, it's Mr. Kozlov here today to talk about percent proportions. This is a specific kind of proportion in which somewhere in the body of the word problem or the word statement will be a percentage. So here we go. Remember, you can start and stop these at your leisure, or fast forward or back up and continue to explore percent proportions. Percents are parts of a whole. If you have a whole pizza, that would be 100% of a pizza. You go to the gas station, you fill up your gas tank, you fill it up, it's 100% full. So a percent proportion is talking about something that is part of a whole. If you remember ratios, there is part to whole, and whole to part. Percent proportions are a part to whole ratio. One thing I want you to notice is in a percent proportion, the number 100 is always in the bottom right-hand corner. There's going to be teachers out there that tell you to put it in the bottom left-hand corner. I'm right-handed. I say put it in the bottom right side, okay? Find a left-handed teacher, they can put it on the left side, okay? But I'm telling you that if you remember that that 100 goes in the bottom right corner of every single percent proportion problem, you've got one of the four numbers you need. So just remember that always goes there. And then remember that the only thing that can go above a percentage is another percentage. So all you can do on the right-hand side of the equation are put percentages. Remember, this 100 right here is really 100%. So the only thing that can go above a percent is another percent. On the left-hand side, remember, it is a part to whole equation. And if you have a time when there is just one question in a word problem, like it's just a statement but a question, that's when we will use these words is and of. Okay? So let's move over to setting up a percent proportion. If you have just a one small question, nothing else in the body of the word problem, just 45 is what percent of 66? This is where you can use is and of to set up your proportion. Okay? So once again, the two steps you're going to be using is cross multiplication and division after you set it up the first couple of steps. The first step is still the same. Write your word statement. Your word statement is either part to whole or it's is and of. You can write them both if you want, but the only time you need to write is and of is if you have just a one phrase right here and nothing else in your word problem. Okay? So here's what I want you to be able to do. I want you to break this down into three parts. 45 is what percent of 66? Those are the other three numbers you're going to use in your actual setup of your proportion. You already know a 100 goes in the bottom right corner, and there's the 100. Okay? So now you're going to look at these three parts. 45 is of 66. Well, the 45 is means the 45 goes on top, because that's where the word is. Of is of 66. That's the whole. There's the part. 45 is part of 66. So the whole goes on the bottom. So now I have 45 over 66. I have a 100 in the bottom right. And yes, the x, or the variable, goes right where it's supposed to. What percent? Well, if we don't know what percent, there's only one place to put a percent. Now you use those last two steps, which is to write your statement after you cross multiply. Let's use a different color for that. There we cross multiplied. 66 times x, 45 times 100, and then divide by the number next to the x. There you have it, in a nutshell, how we deal with percent proportions. So let's try a few of these and see if it actually works, okay? Here are three of those statements on the left-hand side. And let's work these just to show you that it actually can work. All right, what number is 60% of 500? I'm going to break that down into the of 500, the actual percent, and what number is. So now I've got my 3 different points, okay? I'm going to set this up this way. I'm going to write is and of, because it's just one statement. I'm going to put my 60% in the only place it can go, because the only place a percentage can go is with another percentage. Then I'm going to look at my numbers, and when I see the word of, that is 500, which means my x goes on top. Now all you need to do is cross, multiply, and divide. That means 100 times x equals 500 times 60. Okay? Then I'll do my last step, which is divide by 100. So cross, multiply, divide. Write your word statement, write what you know, write what you need to know, just like a regular proportion. So when I divide that, the hundreds get caught out. X equals 300 over 1. So x is 300. Plug it back in and see if that makes sense. 300 is 60% of 50. Well, yeah, that makes sense. So your answer is more than likely right, which in this case it is. All right, next. 24 is 55% of what number? Break it down again. 24 is 55% of what number? Same story. Is of, I'm going to write my 2 ratios, which will be a proportion. It says 55%. The only place I can put a percent is over another percent. 24 is, that means it's a part of what number? There you go. So remember that x can go here, that x could go here, or that x could go here. The only place it can't go is where the 100% is, because the 100% goes there every time. Okay? So now I'm going to cross multiply. 55 times x equals 2400. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 55. Those cancel each other out. X equals whatever 2400 is over 55. Which I'm betting if you have a calculator, or Google, or Alexis, or a parent, or a calculator, you can figure that out on your own. Okay? All right, last one of these, just to make sure you're really getting it. What percentage of 80 is 56? Break it down again. What percent of 80 is 56? Okay? I'm going to do the same thing. Is and of. I'm going to write my 2 statements. I'm going to put my 100 where it goes. Is 56 of 80. What percent? Can't be that easy, can it? Sure it can. 80 times x equals 56 times 100. Remember again, people, cross, multiply, divide. I'm going to divide by 80. I'm going to take those 2 away, and 8 into 56 is going to go 70 times. So my x is 70. That means 70% of 80 is 56. All right, there you go. We've got 3 of those down. Let's go and try an actual word problem, okay? An actual word problem would be Jules completing 18 of the 45 questions on a given homework. What percentage did she finish? Once again, I'm going to write part and whole, because this is an actual word problem. I'm not using is and of anymore, but I am going to put that 100 where it belongs, because that 100 goes there every single time. I'm looking for a percentage. I don't see one. The question says, what percent? So that tells me where my x is going to go. It also says that she completed 18 of the 45 questions. What's the part? What's the whole? Well, here's the part she finished, and here's the whole homework. That's how you figure out where your numbers go. Now you cross multiply and divide. 45x equals 1800, and you divide by 45. Same steps every time. Write your word statement, write what you know, write what you want to know, cross multiply, and divide. Same thing we've been doing now for over a week. Okay? That takes care of this. Let's do one more of these that could be just a little bit tricky, and I want to make sure you guys don't get stuck getting tricky. okay? Let's look at Chloe, and Chloe did 70% of her test. There were 30 questions, but how many questions did she get incorrect? This is a typical EOG question. It is because they've given you information and they've asked for the opposite of the information. So you have to read the question carefully every time. We're still going to write part and whole. We're still going to make our proportion, and we're still going to write a 100 here. The difference, though, is she got 70% on her math test. Those are correct answers. We want to know what answers were incorrect. So if 70% were correct, and I subtracted 70 from 100, that would tell me the percent that was incorrect. So I'm going to save myself a step and put a 30 here instead of a 70. You have to read the question. I'm still going to put my numbers where they belong. There were 30 total questions. The whole test was 30 questions, 100% of the test. Remember, we keep them in line. That means my x goes here. So 100x is going to equal 900. And when I divide both sides by 100, those cancel, the zeros cancel, and x equals 9. Meaning there were 9 questions that she got incorrect. Don't be fooled by this, people. Make sure you're reading the word problem, underlining, circling, starring, hearting. I don't care. Just do something so that you know there are important words there. Okay? As I said in today's class, the last question has to do with Tom Brady. I am not a Tom Brady fan, so I'm not doing that question. You can figure that one out on your own. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.